Okie dokie. So we're on. It's just me, Caroline, and OnlyFans, but I'm gonna record this video just to kind of give everybody that crash course I talked about in terms of add-ons. I think the kind of key focus I want to I guess lean in on here is just kind of like the awareness piece, and that's sort of like why I use add-ons. I think a lot of people can kind of go overboard with add-ons, and so I try to keep things, I think, as sleek as possible in terms of making sure that, I'm not being overloaded with information or that I'm sort of like optimizing as best I can with my setup. So out of the gate, I'll just show you very quickly this list of add-ons I do have, and you can take a screenshot, from this video or whatever it is, and I can also like type up a list. But I don't think it's a lot. It might look like a lot, but maybe it is or maybe it isn't. But the first one, I'm just gonna go down the list. The first one is this advanced interface options, and this is the one I mentioned during our first splits practice, which essentially increases the nameplate distance on my nameplates. So you'll see Caroline's nameplate. I'm getting feedback from somebody. I think you, Ed.
Oh,
Um,
I'll mute myself.
is Caroline. So the default distance is set to 20. And if you go into this, and I can do this slower, but it's nameplate max distance. You can edit this, and it's 20. And so if you look at the difference at the range, it comes into field view. When you walk away, it's gone. So going into that one, it's super helpful. I think everybody should have that. Like you can see where the enemy is through walls, if they're in tunnel, if they're in connector, so that you kind of know where to go and kind of like where to avoid basically. Look how far that is. Like it's really insane. So that one's really helpful. And again, it's advanced interface options. It's the first one. You go into CVAR browser, just type in nameplate at the top, and then look for nameplate max distance, and you can set it to 41. So super simple. So I think everybody should have that. Okay, so then moving through just alphabetically, obviously we have BGT, or sorry, yeah, BGT, not BGE. So this is just battleground targets. This will just show up in the wherever you want it really. But everyone probably already has this. Just shows you who's on the other team. You can click them. You can right click the nameplate and it'll focus them. So if you have focus macros, it's an easy way to set focus unless you have that keybound. But I have both, but I kind of go back and forth with which one's most convenient. If there's like a word that's I know coming up on me really quick and I don't actually see them, I can just quickly go over to my BGT and right click and I can get that focus. So it's really easy to do off the cuff. And this one's also I don't really have anything like special updated or sorry uh, I guess set any special like setup for this one. It's just sort of default. I think I do have the focus target showing, so it's just like a yellow circle, but that's basically it. And then I have sort of health remaining as well, so health bar, just to see where their health is at, and if they're dead, etc. So that one's pretty straightforward. The next one is big debuffs. I actually don't think I have this one on because it overlaps with like a ton of my add-ons, so we can ignore that one. But I think I have it disabled on Druid, but that one's helpful on Priest for like Carolina or for our offense Priest. I think you can get really creative if you use the raid frames that I have here on the left to kind of prioritize the way the debuffs will look in comparison to other debuffs you don't necessarily have to worry about. So like if you needed to spell a sheep or a curse as a mage, like you can prioritize those being larger. So I think that's always just good for just kind of improving your awareness on kind of prioritizing dispels. But I think everybody kind of does that differently in what they're most comfortable with, so I won't touch on that one. Classic aura durations. I have this downloaded. I don't think I could tell you how to test it, but it essentially, I think it. Oh, let me do Caroline one more time. I'm just gonna ignore it. Actually, Caroline, can you fear me? I don't know what that one does, but I don't have trinket to get out of it, so we're just chilling. So coming back, I actually think I know what this big debuffs I had it on for. Yeah, so big debuffs. I actually had this disabled, which was really bad. But it shows the CC over my portrait, which I think is really helpful. So when Caroline feared me, it would have shown there. And if I had Caroline rooted, like we can see here, hold on, I have to turn on test mode. Um, it should show her in a root. Yep, so it shows her in a root, her nameplate. And I have it tracking, her normal debuffs. It goes over her portrait. And I think it's just clean and it's just an easy way to look. I think you can also configure it to show AGM, speed pots, stuff like that. Like if you want to prioritize kind of like what pops up if it's like dispellable stuff. So that's really helpful. So I actually have that. I have that on always. I don't know why it was off. You can also have it show over your nameplates. So Let's see if I can get Caroline in her roots again. There we go. It's popped up there. But there is overlap, I think, with my nameplates add-on. So perfect trinket, or just about. We'd love to see it. Um, so I don't have it overlapping because I actually use threat plates as my nameplate everything. So I just have everything configured through there. Moving through diminish options. This one's super important. I think if you've done competitive PvP ever, you have an understanding of kind of what this one does, and it just essentially tracks your diminishing sort of return, and if that's like the most like the technical way, your diminish options, whatever that means. So basically, like there's one root, and it's green, so that means one's down. Caroline, can you spell that? All right, so I'm gonna root her again. Oh, she resisted. And it just tracks when she gets DR'd. So now it's yellow, so I only have I think one left. Oh no, she's immune. I don't know what the difference between red and yellow is, but basically it just helps you sort of track to see like, okay, have I spammed sheep on somebody and it's gonna start to say immune. I think it's pretty straightforward. But you should be tracking that, and I think in the options you can set it up to show what you're tracking. So like my target, I as a druid probably only want to track stuns and like roots. So I would only have these ones checked. If you're obviously a priest, you would want to do fears and whatnot, and only keep the ones that are relevant for you. I think that's the key thing is kind of tailoring it to what's necessary for your class versus just having, being bombarded with information, right? Like I don't need to know the sheep DR on certain people. I mean, maybe as a druid on
Could I
defense,
interject?
I would say maybe on a druid, on defense I would just to like kind of know. But just make sure you're kind of tracking those, and then yeah, you can if you have anything.
Oh, I was gonna say I disagree that you should have like at least like if you're playing a defense team, like you should just have like the DRs for everyone that you're playing defense with.
Yeah, that was the point I just made at the end because I knew exactly where you
Yeah,
were
yeah.
going. But so yeah, you should in essence be tracking those, but I think there are a lot of them that aren't even relevant to 19s that probably won't even pop up. But uh, again, just back to sort of like kind of tailoring your experience to just ensure you're not being bombarded with information. It's kind of like where I was going. But there's a use case on both ends, right? Like just having yours versus having others. Like if I need to rely on the priest for fear and the rogue's coming at me as DR'd, I'm not going to run that rogue towards Caroline, who may or may not have fear up, but right. So that one's really helpful, and you can configure this one on your target, on your focus. So it's super helpful if you have a focused target macro. You can just kind of keep tabs of it. Um, and then nameplates as well. I have mine. Obviously, you can see just showing up really far above her name, but to the left of where my roots show up. So it's very clean. All right, so moving forward is ECDC. So this gets into the realm of just like tracking your enemy, which is really important. Caroline, go ahead and cast Fear. Not on me, not on me. There you go. So it shows her cooldown right here. I don't know why I unlocked it, but it'll show mine as well. So if I cast Nature's Grasp, you can move it around wherever you want, but I just have it right next to my target. It's very clean. It shows Nature's Grasp. It'll show health potions. It'll show trinkets. It'll show racials. So it'll show anything you really wanted. And there's actually a file in the XP off that's like tailored to 19s. I don't think AGM's included by default, so AGM's included with that updated version. So it's really helpful to have that, I think. I think it also shows my bash, which is cool. Oh, she dodged it. I think bash is always dodged by everybody. But that's really helpful to show the enemy's cooldowns. It'll also show your teammates, which is really nice as well. So you can track if you don't use Omnibar to track your teammates' cooldowns, you can have that as sort of the next sort of thing, the next cover. But it tracks both enemy and team. So if you have it in one spot, you should probably just have it next to where your target is, I think. So that one's really good. Not a lot on that. 5-second rule. This one's super important for anybody who has mana, hunters, mage, rogue, or mage, rogue, sorry. Anybody who has mana. I don't know why I just said rogue, but I think batching was fixed right before TBC, and they removed this sort of you can run while drinking and get mana, so you don't have to stop and sit. And in premates, we should always be running and drinking. It's called the sort of the 5-second like drink rule or whatever. I don't know what the official scientific term is, but essentially this add-on tracks my mana tick. So this white bar that's going up and filling. Every time it completes, if I press my like drink at that completion, it'll give me a full drink mana tick while I'm like, and I can be running and do that. So like I just did it once. Here I can show you just really quickly. Um, so I like rarely ever stop to drink unless I just don't want to run through my water. Um, and everybody should be using this. Again, it's just that white bar that was showing up, and it's called 5 second rule. You can edit it to show text, to give you a countdown. I just have it very clean, but I'll show you just running. My mana just is going to go up pretty fast. If I do it right, there we go. So there's one tick, there's two, there's three. I don't think you can do it with food. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's just it might be with food as well. Um,
No, it's not with food.
Okay, so
Only
it's
only
just for
water.
drinking. So it's really important for D Hunter, for me as well. Like when we're on our fifth, like we're kite route, and I'm getting down to my mana. I pop on my spirit weapon. I actually with this, I don't even use a spirit weapon because it's just like so quick while you're running. To just do the 5 second rule and drink versus swap to a spirit staff. But if you're min maxi, you can do a spirit staff or whatever. So this one is a must for anybody who uses mana. Yes, I love that one. The next one I have is very it's just like my preferred sort of thing. I guess sort of back to my just having a clean interface and trying to like avoid clutter. I have Gladiator LOS SA, which is an add-on that's in retail, but it basically is in Classic as well that announces abilities when they're cast. And so as a druid, I am constantly being mongoed by everybody. So you can mess with this, but it essentially will show you or give you auditory cues when something's being cast. So I have hibernate. So it'll say this, it's auto default to a female, and she'll be like, hibernate when it's being cast from anywhere. I don't even have to be looking at the person casting it. I just know it's coming. And I'll know to shift out of bear form so I don't get hibernate. I have entangling roots. I have even if resurrection's being cast. That's only ever happened once where I've heard that go off. And then in which case the priest did get the res on the druid on roof, and they were able to get the flag, which was very tilting. Scare beast. I have a bunch of other ones too. I have polymorphs so that I know when to line of sight or to shift into bear form. As a priest, I loved it because, like, if I was in connector and I heard polymorph, I would just know immediately I got to run to LOS if I didn't necessarily see the mage. So I think having both the auditory and the visual cues are super helpful. So it's definitely just a preference. And you can get sort of creative with it. You can have it tell you like when Blessing of Freedom is cast, so you can know when to dispel it, um, and stuff like that. So it's really fun, fun loosely. It's just helpful for situational awareness, evasion, or like when the rogue pops sprint and I hear that but I don't see it, I'm like, all right, I gotta like run for cover. So it's super helpful. Just again, situational awareness I think is so key. Um, just coming from arenas and stuff like that. So that's why I have this one. So that's Gladiator SA. Moving through, I have Heal Bars Classic. I think is my heal com, which is an add-on that basically shows the like incoming heals on your name. It was like corrupted, so I'm actually gonna delete it because I have it by default in one of my other add-ons. But essentially, it just shows you you can pop up on your raid frames, you can do nameplates, whatever you want. It'll show incoming heals, it'll show hot ticks. I had it on my priest because two priests in a pre-made team healing in mid, it was kind of hard to tell who was healing who, right? Like I didn't want to overheal anybody. So knowing that my priest was healing the rogue, I could heal the warrior or whatever and just prioritize accordingly. So that one's super helpful for healers. I have it on my druid as well because I can know when a heal is incoming. I think is helpful. Um, and I don't think it would hurt you
Oh,
to
which
know
one
that
was that one again?
it's a heal bars classic.
And it only shows like the incoming heal on your raid frames, right?
It can show wherever you want it. It can show raid frame. I think you can do nameplates. And then it also shows it on my like my plate. I don't know what that means, but like my personal one. It's not showing on Caroline's like my well, she doesn't duel with me, but it would, I guess, in essence. But
Hmm.
it's just really helpful.
Yeah, I forgot to. I was gonna download that and I forgot a long time ago. Whenever Classic TBC came out, I was like, oh well.
Yeah, I wasn't using it for a little while, and I got like yelled at, so I was like, oh geez, I gotta get that one. So then
Mhm.
I have lag bar, uh, which I included in my like document that I wrote up on just sort of getting min maxy with being able to jump. Like that's just what I use to track my frame rate when I'm toggling. So I just have it down there. That's all I use it for. Outside of that, it doesn't really have a use unless I just want to know that my internet's shit or good. Moving through, I have Leatrix map. So this one is important for situational awareness. I'll call out the D Hunter specifically, but also me as well on D, just knowing where my team is. Um, and you can just copy these settings if you want to, but in essence, it just kind of like enhances your mini map down here. So Shift M will toggle a smaller mini map, and you can move it wherever you want to. But I have it in Warson Gulch, and then if I'm in the flag room doing kites like we did during splits practice last night, like I'll zoom in on just what I need to see. I don't need the whole Warson Gulch map, but it'll color code my team so I know like where the priest is, the hunter is, the mage is, and can do kind of kite around them or use them to my advantage. But you can copy these settings if you want to. They're pretty straightforward and sort of preferential, but the biggest thing you get out of this is the color coded um, uh, icons for your team because you don't have that in the default minimap at the top right, which is kind of scuffed. So back to the add-ons, Leatrix Plus. This one's super important. So LTP, Leatrix Plus. Love this one. You can basically automate all the things. Yeah. So automation, you should always have. You don't necessarily need to accept resurrection on. I have it on. I think it's like caused problems for OnlyFans like once where I forget where you were. Oh yeah, you killed yourself in Fellwood, like way south, and we were farming Furbolg, and some random leveler rezzed him, and it auto accepted, and he had to run all the way back up to North Fellwood to get to farm me again. So it was really bad. So maybe not have that one on all the time. I'll actually unclick it now just to save myself. But the most important one is to release in PvP checkbox. So when you die, it'll automatically release you so that you don't pass go. Like you immediately just go to the graveyard, right? Like you spend so much time clicking release spirit, like don't once you die, just die. I have repair automatically just because that's fun. Social, I don't have anything. Chat, these are all sort of just preference stuff. I have an
Uh,
enhanced minimap, but I don't exactly know what that's doing. I don't have
the
anything
good
spell
one
check on.
for like auto looting for fishing.
Oh yeah, one that's just good for fishing. If you've ever had an issue where you've casted like before you've
Mhm.
accepted the rare fish, you can basically go into these system settings. I have disabled screen glow effects and then max camera zoom. So there's a default max camera zoom that they have, and you can actually enhance it so you can go like way out. That's kind of fun. But then disable loot warning and then faster auto loot. So essentially, if Lucky Fishing Hat fish drops, it'll literally just like I won't even see the loot window and it'll go to my inventory and I'm just like, oh that's nice. I'll see it in the chat box that I got it. But to never miss that or like to get into combat on accident and fuck up, I think that's what that kind of like helps you avoid. So that one's really good. But the most important thing is releasing PvP, because you don't want to spend any time clicking a button, right? Going back through, lose control. I actually think this is the one I had. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so this is like where I get like kind of crazy with like some overlap. I think I have some of these like disabled. But lose control. Oh yeah. Here, let's do it again. This is what I have it doing. Go ahead and fear me. So I have it. I have when I get CC'd also showing up here. I know it's like a little bit repetitive across kind of everything. But just having it right over my character, I kind of, I know what's going on. If I'm gouged, like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to do anything because it's stunned. So that's very situational. I think it also can interact with your raid frames to kind of, again, show you like if your teammate pops evasion or like, you can adjust it and kind of like play with the settings a little bit to get to where you want to go. But that's what I primarily have it for, is just to show up right in the middle of my screen. Omnibar, I would say arguably this is like one of the more important ones. Further than just the auto loot your fish. This is tracking enemy cooldowns. I have it testing, basically, and I think this one's like super important. Again, it's a little bit situational in terms of like what you want to track and you don't want to track. You can track your enemy cooldowns. You can also track your group members as well. So like I know for me, I'm gonna add group members and I'm gonna track Caroline's Fear. I'm gonna track Tiny's Frost Nova. So that I can really know like, okay, can I use them and not be like, do you have a Frost Nova? You know what I mean? And like kind of avoid that back and forth or them not, misalignment or whatever it is. But tracking the cooldowns is super important. Like I'm tracking sprints, conch shots, earth binds, like anything that's gonna like pull me out of the fight or stop me from doing a jump. Freedoms as well. So it's super important. You can just customize it to kind of whatever you want and check what I have bash here. Uh, Other ones, fear. I mean we're 19, so we definitely don't have a ton of spells. So not a lot to track, but it's definitely just helpful to have here, right? So you definitely want to do those. And then I suggest maybe adding another one that's for tracking your teammates as well, just depending on you know what you want to know, what you don't want to know. I know I'm going to be adding it for defense, so that's just me. So then I also have Omni CC. This is yet another one that I don't really know what it does. I think I just have it downloaded and it's operating. I just can point you to what it does. Um, but I have it, so it's helpful. So I would just download it. I'm sure you'll see it. Like if you're not familiar with it, you'll probably notice right away. But I've just played with these add-ons for so long that like their interchangeability, they're kind of like always kind of doing the same thing. I think in a degree, like if it's not tracking in my raid frame, I know it's tracking in my nameplate. Like you know what I mean? So I appreciate the description. Omni CC is an add-on that adds text to items, spells, and abilities that are on cooldown to indicate when they will be ready to use. In other words, it turns all the standard analog cooldowns into digital ones.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it's just like it puts the timer on your cooldowns.
yep. So bash, it's 1 minute, and so now it's yellow, and then once it gets close to being done, it'll go red. So that's kind of fun. Right, like literally, I've been playing with these add-ons for so long, I just forget what they do. That's super fun. So yeah, it's mostly just for cooldowns. Uh, I have quartz. That's just for like a clean, cute cast bar. It's definitely not. It's just preferred. It just looks good. I don't have it showing for my targets. Like Caroline, go ahead and cast heal. I have healing showing here on her name on her plate, I guess character plate. This is the add-on uses shadow unit frames, a suff, which I just think is really clean, and you can edit basically every part of it to give you just that really like clean look, which is what I go for. I think a lot of interfaces get cluttered by if you use the default ones. So SUF is super clean. I love it. I recommend getting it and kind of playing around with the settings, but like the casting just looks really good. Like Caroline, cast heal again. Oh, it's so good. Like it's showing under her nameplate, it's showing here. So clean, so clean. I'm all about a clean interface. So that's SUF if you want to copy mine. It took some time to configure, and you can get this add-on called E-Align or Align that basically helps you center everything, which is what I use because I'm crazy. So moving past Omni or Quartz, I have Sexy Map. This is definitely just me. I hate the default map. I have it set as a square, and that's it. And have a lot like I don't have any zone text. I just have the clock. Just very clean. Because that's what I'm about. So you can
I
configure
mean,
that one if you want. But I think
sexy max is absolutely very important
it's very
because like it.
important. And the thing I missed too, sorry, is I guess the most important thing would maybe for the D Hunter is you can increase the scale. So for track humanoids, like I know maybe it'd be a little bit obtuse, but like you wouldn't be playing like that. But you could really go zoom on the scale and get more from your track humanoids because I think that there's a lot of overlap, right? So it can just get a little bit painful.
But what
Um,
also is important is that it doesn't take like sexy map makes it so it doesn't take up your whole screen when you push map.
oh yeah, so out of it, right? So you can come out of it and like your map is a little bit translucent, and you can edit it to be more translucent while you're moving. I think mine's not, so I'll have to edit it. But so you can just have it up in front of you while you're moving, and it's not just like taking up your whole map. I think it's awesome. Yeah, good point.
But like so you can like see people around when you're like looking at your map as well too, which is
Yeah,
huge.
just all about awareness. So increase the mini map if you're a hunter. In also in parallel with this, the Leatrix map at the bottom right, and then also having that transparent map. Like your like awareness is through the wazoo. So definitely do that. And then last but not least, this is the I think with nameplates being able to show for so far, I just think playing with nameplates on by default is you should always be doing that. I always have just enemies on. I sometimes toggle friendly units on just if I can't look at my map or it's the heat of the moment. So I do have a keybind to show friendly units as well. So toggling on for these guards. Um, so I highly suggest everyone plays with nameplates. It's super important. I have my nameplates tracking DRs as you saw. So when I cast my roots, it's showing, my buffs are applied or any pertinent CC that would ultimately override that, right? Like if she got stunned, it would probably override my roots because she can't get out of it. And then further than that, casting heal. If she casts heal, it'll show, the spell cast underneath. And I can see that from so far away. So like if I'm getting cast sheep on and I'm right in range and I know that like I am in range, I can just like walk out of it. Like that's super easy. So I'm a huge proponent playing with nameplates. I think everybody should. The interface add-on that I use is threat plates. It is you can configure literally everything. It'll take you some time to kind of work through this. I wonder if I could copy this or like export it to something. I definitely can. So if you want my threat plates profile, just reach out to me. It's just very clean. I try to it's as sleek as possible. I even thought about removing the level 19 on the right. Like it's just straight to the point, class color, name, cast bars, showing DRs, showing the CCs. It'll show dots and stuff as well. But the dots are much smaller actually. Oh my God, you're resisting everything. There we go. So the dots are much smaller. CC overrides that. And then if it was a rogue popping sprint, I would see that as well, maybe to the right. So it kind of just shows you everything. And the fact that you can see nameplates through walls and from crazy distances just heightens your, like, I would say 70% of my awareness is because of nameplates. And again, so having it on enemies is important, but then having it like I toggle on and off. Like if I want to get a pick on a flag, I definitely can't do it if all the nameplates are there. So I have it keybound so I can easily toggle it on and off, which is important I think as well. And then if I want to see my friendly units, I can toggle that on too. So it's just super helpful for awareness. And I'm trying to think of anything further than that besides weak auras, which I'll go over. I know everybody's familiar with weak auras, but my
Um,
my go ahead if there's anything else.
oh, I was just gonna say that another add-on that I use that's pretty helpful is nameplate cooldown. If you be like, because you like had a lot of options for like omnibar and like tracking your team and allies cooldowns. Another good one is like that you can customize is nameplate, where it'll literally just put their cooldowns on their nameplate.
Yeah, that one's helpful. I think so it definitely comes down to your preference, right? Like
Yeah,
I'm already
exactly.
tracking a ton above the nameplate, so I'm gonna lean on tracking cooldowns using ECDC to the right of the nameplate on the person I'm targeting or with Omnibar, right? Like so it's I don't want to be overstimulated, like so you just don't want to double dip, I guess would be the
Yep.
point that I would want to make on that. So don't try not to double dip in kind of where information is available and try to keep it clean so that you're not on intake overload, right? Like drinking from the fire hose because I think it's like great to have all these add-ons, but like you just I know that I use every single one to its like like most use, I guess. So I guess just with that, just be cognizant of just not overdoing it with a bunch of add-ons that basically do the same thing. And that's why I said I was like, I don't really know what these do. I think they all kind of do the same thing. They all do slight variations of the same thing, but I'm ensuring that I'm not overwhelmed. So moving into weak auras, I guess before I get started, I love weak auras. I know Caroline loves weak auras too. If you are like, if you love like coding or creating, like, give me a problem and wow, it's like, how can I create something that will help me with that problem? That's what weak auras is for. I outsource all of my weak auras to people because I just am too lazy to figure it out. So I basically outsource that, and this is my setup, and I actually run these on my priest as well. So they're really important. The most important ones, well, they're all important, but everybody needs to have this BG res timer slash dead enemy tracker, and you can put it wherever you want. But I have it up here for me, and this once Worse and Gulch starts, or you get killed and you're put in the GY, the game will take note of the GY timer, which is just it's automatic every 30 seconds it restarts, and show you. So like if you need to kill yourself strategically faster, and you see that there's like 7 seconds left on this timer, like the countdown, and you're like about to die, and you're like, all right, I'm just gonna kill myself. Do it. Just be strategic. And I'm honestly so sweaty that I have a macro for slash sit, so that I know when it's like down to the wire 3 seconds and I'm about to die and I'm not gonna die in time, I will start to slash sit to force crits on myself so that I'll take more damage. That is extremely sweaty, but some teams will just kind of like leave you to dry and they won't do it perfectly, and you might be able to get them to force a kill if you slash sit. Do you know what I mean? So being sweaty being that sweaty is kind of annoying, but I do it if I know that it'll mean I can die and get to the GY, and get myself into a good spot to either repick or connect with whoever picked it up, or whatever it is. But you don't necessarily need to be as sweaty as me with the slash sit, but I definitely do. I definitely do it. So that's a fun one. It also tracks resing, so it'll keep tabs on like if I pick up the flag in Horde base and I'm running out Horde to Horde GY on my Night Elf, it's going to show a number, and it's going to show 0, 1, 2 through 10 basically. Essentially just showing you how many people are about to res, right? Like if somebody dies, it's easily able to tell like, okay, so and so's up next. And then if I see 5 people are about to res and there's 10 seconds left on the res timer, I'm not going to go GY. Because I know that they're all about to res, or I will go tunnel if I see like 8 people died in GY at the start of a game, like we wiped him in middle. I'm not going to go GY at all. I'm just going to go tunnel because I know they're in GY and they're going to come for me. So that's helpful situational awareness. I also have flag countdown. This one just shows a timer that I think is both the timer for when the flag respawns after a cap, and also when the flag is dropped and it's being it'll auto return. Do you know what I mean? So if I know that I can ghost link, or if I'm a ghost and I drop the flag, but I know nobody's gonna be able to get the return, I can ghost to it, and I know I have 5 seconds left to get to it and pick it up. And if I know that I can make it on time, I'll go, or otherwise I'll stay, if that makes sense. So it's just helpful to know in that sense, like, okay, when we drop the flag in a pre-made and they say delay, it's like we can see that countdown, right? It's like 5 seconds left. Is our flag carrier gonna make it in time? Like, can we risk having the flag just kind of sit here? Yay or nay? It's super great. And then for Druid specifically, and I think you could probably adopt this as well, maybe on a priest. just to improve more awareness is I have hibernate polymorph scare beast showing, so it'll flash if these are going off. So I know if scare beast is coming, I will kind of wait a second because I'll just kind of bait the full cast and then I'll shift out of it before it goes off. Same thing for polymorph. I'll just know to be in bear form so I don't get polymorphed. And then the other one was hibernate. Oh yeah, hibernate, scare beast, and polymorph. And then you can also do fear if you want to. I have to get that one, but haven't had a chance yet. Shift. This is just one I have for myself when I'm just getting mongoed by a bunch of people who can slow me. So it's not relevant for you guys. For tracking buffs, I do this on Priest for Inner Fire to make sure like it's constantly up. Buffs are really important in the 19s because Dispel is so strong. People do what's called like buff stacking. So just being really good about your buffs, I just think is only just like the most helpful because if you have a bunch of buffs on you and you're given freedom, like there's so many protections from freedom getting dispelled if you have 8 buffs on you, right? So I always want to make sure I'm tracking just to make sure I always have my buffs on. I'm obviously like, I'm not going to put it on if I'm out of mana, but I know for Inner Fire, it's pretty, it doesn't take a lot of mana. But if I don't have Mark of the Wild or Thorns on, it'll just show up here very cleanly to say like, that shit's off, so I'll put it on. And now they're gone. So that's just really helpful. I do that for Inner Fire on Priest. I'm trying to think. There's just other ways. If you think about it in that sort of mindset, you might be able to tailor it to yourself. I'm just trying to think of other ones too. I think I should make one to track Nature's Grasp as well, so I know when it like goes off, because it is a little bit RNG and actually gets just dispelled all the time. So that's good. So if you're thinking about buffs in that sense, I think it's really good for just tracking your buffs very cleanly. Moving through, I have this one that Caroline made for me. I actually think it's pretty helpful. We can actually yield. I'll show you. Uh, just because Caroline's really smart. So if you need help with Wikaras, go to her. But it'll basically make it so that my star target, it'll show that she's healing me if I'm not targeting her. So if she keeps healing me, I see that, and then I kind of know, I'm like, all right, let me be cognizant of LOS. Like I know that heal's coming in. It's only if she has this target in her head, which we'll have for defense. So this is sort of a cute thing that we made together that we use in splits. And again, it just helps me avoid LOSing if I know heal is incoming. I also have heal com or whatever that the add-on was that shows it here as well. So I am double dipping a little bit, but it's hard for me to really see that one and also look at raid frames. So I just needed another Q just down to preference. Back here again, and then this is another one, Worsen Gulch flag carrier names. Everyone should have this one, but it shows you the enemy and friendly flag carriers, actual like names, and you can do color class, so you can see their class, and it'll show the percentage. If they're near you, it'll update the percentage, and if they're far away from you, if somebody else on the team has it, it'll just auto update it. But what it does, I think, is super helpful in pugs mostly is it auto announces the enemy flag carrier's percent of health, not in like real time, but enough for you to know like cap, no cap, should I go to the flag and can I get this? And then it also shows our flag carrier. So for me as the FC and pugs, like I don't want to click a macro that says I'm about to die a repick. It'll show my percentage of health. So that's really helpful. So I highly suggest everybody have this one as well. And these are all really easy to, if you download WeakCores, you can just import, and I can just send you the files, and you can just copy and paste them in here, the strings of text. And it'll automatically update them, and you can tailor them to however you want them. I also have one, sorry, I just burped. I have one that's not on my druid that I'm gonna get. But it basically just tracks my mana. So once I use the mana that I'm given from Touring to Intellect on my weapon, it'll auto prompt me to it'll just let me know, and in which case I know I need to swap to my agility weapon like I just did, or my healing staff if I'm in my boomy set, quote unquote boomy set, because I'm a druid and I'm a noodle. So it just gives me that cue to know like, okay, when have I used that like reserve of mana that's given to me with 22 intellect, and I'm no longer gaining value from that. Like that's a little bit sweaty, but I mean that's what it sort of comes down to. I think again you can sort of min max this game as much as you want, and that's sort of one of the ways you can. And for Caroline too, or anybody like the hunter, like once you're like man's at a certain threshold, it's like, okay, I should start drinking and walking or whatever. Like how can you connect the dots here with your add-ons, A, B's, and C's to kind of like get the most benefit out of them all working in tandem or conjunction with one another. So that's the dirty on add-ons. I don't have any others to talk about. If I think of anything else, I'll definitely let you know. But I think that these are all sort of the pertinent ones that everybody should have. Again, it's a focus on heightened awareness, starting with increasing that nameplate distance, I think for sure. And then down to sort of like your stylized, like what you prefer, I think, in terms of look and feel, I think you can edit a lot of these in a way to kind of make your own experience without losing sort of that awareness value. Um, and I'm trying to think of anything else. OnlyFans, if you have anything that I didn't touch on or any add-ons that you think are super important.
Don't
Um,
Um,
forget Peggle.
what's
hmm?
up?
Don't forget Peggle.
Cheggle.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a game you can play while you're on a griffin.
Ah, perfect. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, yes. Or you're waiting for the long queues. Yes,
I was
that's super important.
what I was just gonna say is like with everything, like Jacob has like a shit ton of stuff that's like cross CC for like every single person and like multiple add-ons and stuff, but like just be like sure to do like what works best for you.
Yeah,
Like some people like your defense hunter might not necessarily need like the same awareness as like what our priest might need. Like you don't need to track people's kicks all the time and stuff like that. So like just be sure like you're not overwhelming yourself because like you being able to play efficiently is much more important than you being perfectly aware.
yeah.
So like
That's a
do
super
it at your own
important point.
pace.
I mean, like Caroline, we talked about this, like, going from Voodoo or Healbot to just doing mouse overs and hard casting with the button. Um, like learning that, like I remember, like it's just such a huge learning curve when you get used to playing a certain way for so long. So yeah, definitely don't overdo it. Don't think that downloading all these add-ons is gonna be the simple fix. Maybe start with a few. Definitely do nameplates. Definitely download threat plates so that you can make, cute nameplates as well that are color coded. And just go through and see what works best for you. I definitely agree. Don't want to overwhelm yourself because there's certainly going to be a learning curve and sort of an adjustment period. But I want you guys to sort of like hit the ground with these because I
And
think it's just all good stuff.
I think one macro that would be good just for everyone to be accustomed to is the like mouse over if it exists. Otherwise, it just is your target. That's like one that I use for literally every single ability, and that's like a pretty easy one to get accustomed to because it's like the same as like your normal abilities that you'd like naturally use. But then if you have a mouse over in that moment, it would just do it on that character. And I don't know if everyone uses it, but it's a good way for like jukes and stuff, which is not really add-on appropriate. But like if you guys it's like hard for some people to transition directly to mouse overs. That's like a good starting point.
Yeah, just to have it,
Or
if
like
nothing else.
kicks or heels.
I literally I
I,
on
I
every single one of my
used
characters I use it for every single
no
one.
dead.
Yeah,
Oh
Have
yeah,
a real
that
good heal stuff, but
yeah. I
my
have
shaman
the
I
macro
have
up on my
the
screen.
other one for earth shock and
Yeah,
stuff.
you should definitely have like mouse over kicks or interrupts. I have mouse over roots. Like sometimes when I'm not able to target the target in time, especially with like a moonfire or fairy fire on a rogue or a warrior that's in like an awkward position on my camera. Like I can just like off the cuff like mouse over fairy fire, right? If I don't have time to focus them or tap
yep,
target or whatever it is. So yeah, it's definitely situational. I think macros sort of separate, but like we can
it
definitely
is
like
separate.
talk about it. But we don't have to go into detail on it.
We were just in that moment right there. We were talking about mouse over macros. So I was like, oh, this is like good. This is a good starting point if you're like too afraid to like go right into it, or like it's just like so different.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So yeah, that basically wraps it up. I'm gonna stop recording. But I wanna with other people. I know there was like a secret, not secret, but like a hunter pet stay, hunter pet follow if it gets stuck, like stuff like that. I think there's like still like collective knowledge that I am aware of that's class specific. So if I think of anything, I may reach out to you guys sort of separately just to make sure you're just sort of aware of it. Things that I know that like other hunters do or other classes do that are sort of cheeky that have weird interactions with the game that could be to your advantage. I'll reach out, but don't necessarily need to cover here. But this was good. So if you need these weak auras, just reach out to me. I'll put a list of the add-ons in Discord. And then if you have any questions, just reach out to me. But yeah, hopefully this was helpful for everybody.